One. Hello, welcome back. Undisputed Boxing. It's prediction time for next Saturday. We're here to preview Josh Kelly versus David Avanesyan, and also the heavyweight between Otto Wallin versus Dominic Breazeale. It's on the undercard of the Broner fight. Obviously, Adrian Broner is expected to come through his sort of first fight back, I think, after 2 or 3 years. But we're probably a little bit more intrigued in the Wallin versus Breazeale. So we're going to do a quick prediction on that. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe and share the videos. How many subscribers are we up to so far, Rick?
A massive.
It's getting embarrassing. Anyway, all right, let's get on with it. So, who have you got next Saturday, Rick? Josh Kelly versus David Avanesyan.
So I think it's definitely going to go to points.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's tricky. It's tricky because I mean, I'll be honest. I've seen Kelly's fights coming through, and Avanesyan, I've seen bits of him, and he has been beaten twice. Once off Lon Peterson and once off some guy's name I'm not going to try and pronounce, but he then later went on and got beat off Crawford.
Yeah.
So I think Avanesyan is, as we all know, is not the top of the tree, but he's kind of, you know, if you're beating him, you're breaking through to that top lot. And I think it's one of them where we don't quite know how good Kelly is at the moment. He's obviously very skillful, doesn't have a lot of power. I'm not sure how much we've seen his chin get tested. But Avanesyan can get overwhelmed because, you know, one of his defeats was TKO, where he took a shot and then just got overwhelmed with lots of shots.
Yeah.
So I am leaning towards Kelly on points, but I'm not overconfident with that. I'm quite confident with points, I think. I'm just not overconfident it'll be Kelly. I also think he's quite an intelligent fighter, Kelly. They've been preparing for him for a long time. I think Alan Booth's a good trainer, and I think he'll have him absolutely sharp for this, and they've had a long time to prepare for him. And I think some of that also sways me, but I think it's going to be close.
Yeah,
and he might have to get through some times, and he's going to be learning on the job a little bit. But that's my prediction and kind of why. How are you viewing it?
Do you know, I've swayed a little bit. I was picking Avanesyan, but I'm now actually kind of swinging back to Josh Kelly. And I was backing Avanesyan because Josh Kelly's performance against Ray Robinson, which I think was on the undercard of AJ Ruiz, which was a draw. It was quite a flat performance, and I'm maybe just putting that down to a bad night for Josh Kelly, a little bit of overconfidence and falling in love with his skill and his power a little bit. And I think that actually might have prepared him very well for this fight. He showed that he can, you know, he can bite down in his gum shield and come through. You know, he's not all flash and skill. He has got some heart as well. So I'm kind of agreeing with you, really. I think he'll come through some sticky moments, and maybe he'll lose some of the middle rounds. But I think his ring craft, his, you know, decorated amateur as well. I think he'll win on points, or maybe a draw. But I'll go points. Josh Kelly. And I think up until the Ray Robinson, I was quite impressed with him, but I'm now starting to think, you know, maybe he is a hype job. But I think this is going to be, if he wins he announces himself onto the world stage, really. I think this is for the European title, and if he does beat him, then, you know, he's kind of on the top 10, top 15 in the division, which will be interesting. And there's some really big fighters coming through in that welterweight division. So but I'm super excited. I think it's going to be a great fight.
If he was to win, do you see the fight with Ben happening, or I just have this feeling the Ben fight won't happen. I think it'll almost be, I'm a bit further ahead than Ben. I'm going to go down that route and Ben can catch up to me.
Yeah, it's weird. Like about a year ago, I think we talked about a little bit about this when Conor Ben won. I was very heavy leaning towards Josh Kelly if ever they fought, but I'm actually think the gap is a lot closer now. I think Conor Ben has actually come on a lot more in the last 12 to 18 months. But I think it will actually. I think it will happen because that division is, the welterweight division is heavily US. I think all the champions are in the US, and mostly with PBC. And I don't think they're ready for that anyway yet. I think they're a good 12 to 18 months away from even being mentioned with those names just yet. But I think it is the fight that makes sense. I mean, who else would you put Josh Kelly in with if you don't put him in with the winner of Conor Ben and Samuel Vargas? I think they fight in April, don't they? I don't think there's an obvious opponent for Josh Kelly. Okay. Yeah. Who would you put him in with?
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be easy if he sticks with a matchroom fighter. So,
Kell Brook?
I don't know. I mean, the Smith or Brook fight at that point. Yeah. It's just whether they'd take it.
Yeah.
Be those two. I mean, Brook might not think he's big enough. Smith, he's not fought in a while, so he might go, okay, but it's more of a downside for them.
Yeah.
I think, if they beat him, what do they get from that, really? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Should we move on to the heavyweight fight?
Yeah. I'm not really that interested in the Adrian Broner fight, but Wallin versus Dominic Breazeale, I think is quite intriguing, actually. How do you see that one going?
Well, this is for me. It's either it's CV points to one thing, and recent performances point to another. In my eyes. So, if you look at recent performances, Breazeale. This is Breazeale's first fight, isn't it? Since he got absolutely poleaxed in a round.
I believe it is. Let me just double check that. Remind me, I've got some heavyweight news for you.
Pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
So there's that. And Wallin's had a great fight against Fury, and Fury's gone on to do what he's gone on to do. But I look at the CVs, and really, if I look at Wallin's CV, the only win of any note I can kind of look at is kind of Travis Kaufman, the only person I've actually heard of. Whereas you go into kind of Dominic Breazeale's box rec, and at least he's got like Eric Molina and Ogono and Amir Mansour and Fred Cass. There's a few more on there. Not saying they're world class, but there's a bit more on there where you can't actually say Wallins has got a decent win on his record of any note. So therefore, that makes you kind of lean a little bit more towards Breazeale. But I do think, he gave Tyson Fury a lot of difficulty, and I know Tyson Fury can have different performances, but he's obviously happy fighting a big man, and he's, Breazeale is a big man. So again, I'm leaning towards, I think points again, and I'm leaning towards Breazeale. But again, I'm about as confident on that as I am with the other fight, the Kelly Avanesyan one. And I'm even less sure it's going to be points, but that is my prediction, points and Breazeale.
Really? Okay. I think this is going to be an undisputed boxing first, where we actually predict different fighters, or backing different fighters. I'm going to go Otto Wallin I'm going to go by knockout, actually, a late knockout, late stoppage. Yeah.
You've been hyped then by the.
Maybe I have, yeah. Maybe I have. I mean, you say he doesn't, he likes. Say again.
I said you must have, because if you look at his CV, you wouldn't have put that.
Yeah, I mean that is basically what I'm judging it on. And by the way, there is actually another fighter that you may have overlooked, Rafael Zombano, who you might remember Anthony Joshua cleaned out, and I think in about 1 or 2 rounds. Wallin actually went the distance with him.
Zombano Love.
Zombano Love, yeah, it's basically the same guy.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see him on the thing.
Yeah, he's on his record.
Right, yeah, that is a.
That's not good.
Yeah, it doesn't change my mind.
Yeah, all right. So so just to confirm, you're going Dominic Breazeale by points. I'm going Otto Wallin by late stoppage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, we'll see. Adrian Broner, do you know who he's actually fighting? Because I think it's changed a couple of times, hasn't it?
Not a clue. Not a clue.
Yeah,
I kind of lost interest in Adrian Broner. I think he's a gimmick now.
I know, it's a shame really, because when he was coming through, he was a special talent. He was really, really good, but yeah, lack of discipline, got rich too quick, I think. Bad influences around him, and it's a real shame. I think he's going to be a wasted talent, but he is still a draw and he's a character. It'd be good to see, what he can come back with. Just staying with the heavyweights, I did hear that Andy Ruiz Jr. is fighting Chris Arreola. I don't know if you can remember Chris Arreola. I don't think he's fought for like 2 or 3 years, Chris Arreola. I actually think he's retired. I must be dragging him out of retirement.
I don't think he retired. I think he's just one of these that just waits. He won't sit there and fight anyone unless there's a decent payday. You know what I mean? He's almost living off some of his older performances years and years ago, and he can make a good living of being rolled out, and someone can clean out because it's a name.
So yeah, not great.
When's that? When is?
I don't know. I don't think they've got a date for it yet, but I think they've pretty much agreed. I saw it on Twitter from a couple of sources, which made me think that it's pretty legit. But staying with the Mexicans, I don't know how much research you've done into the other fight that I'm really interested in for next Saturday is.
Hang on a minute. He's going to get the door. Food's arrived. Food's arrived.
Yeah, so staying with the Mexicans, another fight that you should definitely look into for next Saturday. Miguel Berchelt is defending his WBC super featherweight against Oscar Valdes. That is going to be a barnstormer. There is absolutely no way this fight can suck. It's going to be a barnstormer. Honestly, you should check it out. I am actually backing. A lot of people seem to be backing Berchelt, and I think, to be fair, he is the favourite. But I think Oscar Valdes is going to do the business. Actually, let me have a quick look at the odds. Have you had a look at any of these at all? Pardon?
No. To be honest, no.
Yeah, so I think Miguel Berchelt is the betting favourite, but there's not a lot in it. So Oscar Valdes beat Scott Quigg at featherweight, and then he stepped up about 3 fights ago. But they both carry, awesome power. I just think Oscar Valdes is slightly better footwork and better skilled, better punch, sort of variation. But they are both quite open as well. They both get hit quite a lot. Oscar Valdes is still undefeated. Miguel Berchelt has got 1 defeat by knockout very early on in his career. But yeah, that is going to be. I think that's going to be a fight for the ages. I think it's going to be really good. It's on a top rank. It's a top rank headliner.
Saturday.
Yeah, that's next Saturday. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's much on the undercard, to be honest. But yeah, if you get time to see that, I would definitely yeah.
The next week, we're going to review some of these fights that we've been talking about. They're all taking place next week.
Yeah.
And then we're going to predict the White fight, because we'll be a week out from that.
Okay. And then what?
And if there's any Not doing a news video because nothing much has happened.
Yeah.
Other than last night.
Okay, so we'll do a prediction. So next week we'll review these cards, the predictions, and then we can do a prediction on Dillian White versus, or I should say, Alexander Povetkin versus Dillian White. Who's on the undercard for that now? Do we know yet?
Yeah, I think Melina fighting
Fabio Wardley.
Wardley. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. There are other bits. I mean, it's pay-per-view, so hopefully they bulk beef it up a bit. They can't bring out the Savage, unfortunately, because he's just recovering from an injury. Okay. He's always good thing. But I think there'll be some others. We need to. We'll look at the card because there might be a few others we have to predict. I mean, we should really predict the Melina Wardley fight because you know it's Melina's not. Well, you can debate how good he's ever been, but Wardley's never fought at any level either. So
yeah,
one to predict probably.
All right.
Radio.
Cool. All right. Enjoy the match. Okay. Until next week.